Oh, I will not put inflatables up once River is an adult, but
what if she's like, Mom, this is what I'm looking forward to. I want to come home back to my childhood house and like relive all the memories.
Once you're like off the payroll, like the inflatables go back in the backyard.
Community leaders from Asheville and Buncombe County.
From the newsroom to the nursery.
We're juggling a demanding career on live TV with the demands of motherhood.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Karen.
They are AnchorMoms.
Hello, welcome into AnchorMoms, the podcast. Katie, how are we?
We're okay. As we're recording this, Christmas is very quickly approaching.
Right around the corner.
And I think, we're feeling the Christmas crunch, if you will.
Listen, Katie, your household has inspired mine.
Oh, do you have junk on your front lawn like we do? They want junk? Oh, they want inflatables.
They want to. We do have junk though. We do have lots of debris still in our yard. But no, we have delved into the deeper inflatable world. We had one inflatable last year that unfortunately perished.
Okay. Bit the dust, bit the inflatable. Mm-hmm. It's in inflatable heaven now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So every time we drive down your street, the kids are like, "Can we please go by River's house and see their inflatables?" Listeners, viewers on YouTube, Katie has several inflatables. This is like a daily conversation in my house.
She
has a Minnie Mouse.
No,
Mickey Mouse, Santa, Snowman, and one more.
And a Minnie Mouse.
And a Minnie Mouse, yes.
Mickey,
Mickey, Santa, Snowman.
Count them. That's 4.
Yep. So, the discussion was, well, River has 4 inflatables. Our one inflatable died. We need to replace them. So then we actually had a conversation with you guys. Your husband was like, you gotta go with a bigger than 8-foot inflatable. It can't be less than 8 feet. If it's less than 8 feet, it falls over. So
which is actually true because like it needs a more powerful fan. Mm-hmm. We've really dialed it in on the old inflatables. Mm-hmm. I just want you to know that 25-year-old Katie is dying inside.
Well, listen, so
tacky.
We had this big discussion. I searched online. Of course, this is like last minute now, right? And so most of the stores are like sold out of inflatables, but our children are still insisting on them. So we had to go to Walmart, our one time a year. We all go as a family to Walmart. And the Christmas season. And we said, okay, you can get an inflatable. And I was thinking we were going to abide by Brian's rule and get like a real big, tall one, right? Well, they didn't have really good options. So then our children said, can we each pick out a small one?
Oh, you have 4 inflatables now too.
We also have 4 inflatables. We let them pick them out. They are each 3.5 feet tall. But listen. First of all, they actually kind of picked cute ones.
Okay,
so
what
I
are
was kind
they?
of okay with them. It's a sea turtle with a Santa hat, a hedgehog holding a wreath, a gingerbread girl, and a gnome.
Oh,
it's a very random assortment of inflatables in our house.
You have eclectic inflatables, okay?
But listen, then Gregory's like, Brian, we know that Brian gave us this inflatable advice. What are we going to do? So Henry was like, Henry loves Brian and thinks he's a very wise man. And he's like, well, Brian said that they're going to fall over. We got to do something. So Henry was the one who was like out there with the stakes. Mm-hmm. Man, he got those puppies.
Are they good?
Real secure.
Good, Henry.
Yeah. He got them all lined up. We had to come out. Everybody had to come out Griswold style. Look at the placing of the inflatables, the order of the inflatables. We got him in, we got him down. The children are so excited. But I'm just, to your point, I'm like, are the neighbors like, wow, they really just like let their kids go with whatever they wanted and it looks a hot mess, but we're just going with it.
Yes.
And then I was like, I really think we need lights. Like we need some sort of lights on the outside.
We got lights.
Yeah. Gregory's like, no, we're good with inflatables. I'm like, really? I feel like you're just kind of like.
You're mailing it in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like you let your son put them up. We just let him pick out whatever random ones they wanted. We at least got to string some lights up.
So are you going to?
I don't know.
Time's ticking.
I don't know. Yeah, at this point, like, I don't even know.
And I want you to know this. Once you start down this path of inflatables, There's like, you can't go back.
Well, I feel like we're like, each kid got one. We're done.
You make me laugh.
We're done.
No.
You think we're not done?
I mean, I'm just
There's
telling
not much
you,
yard room left, to be honest.
We just keep building and building. The first year we had inflatables, I only allowed them in the backyard because I was
embarrassed.
Just so embarrassed. And then Brian made me feel guilty, like, do it for the children, which,
as my children show, they love your
River.
house. Yeah.
We are the only people in our, I would say, like 2 to 3 mile radius of
No,
our
that's not
neighborhood.
true. Because we have scoured your whole neighborhood looking for inflatables.
Well,
There's
I
a
don't
couple
think
others.
on our side of the lake, I don't think there's very many inflatables.
There's not a ton, but there are a couple. So don't worry. You will not get booted out of the neighborhood.
I mean, it is what it is. It gets even worse because then I have to like force, like it's like January 15th. And I'm like, for the love of God, please take down those inflatables. So.
Oh, they don't come down right at Christmas?
No. I mean, we're just busy. Like we want them to. I want them to.
Can I take mine down at Christmas? What is the inflatable protocol?
If you can get around to it.
What's the timeline here?
I don't know. I say they need to be at least down by January 7th, but talk to my husband. Those are always sort of the outside lights and the inflatables are always sort of the last survivors of the Christmas decorations.
We also had the big discussion, colored lights versus white lights.
On the old Christmas tree or on the outside
old Christmas tree? Are you guys a white light family?
So we were until last year, but now we're multicolored. And we're everybody's kind of on the fence about it at my house. Like we might go back to the old white lights. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Brian and River
If you get sick of the colored, send them my way. Because we're on any color accounts in our family.
Any color. Yeah. Brian and River have, years ago I had like a whole aesthetic, a Christmas aesthetic that I was striving towards.
Could have been shown in a magazine.
Exactly. Out the door. Gone. And honestly, every time I pull into our yard, I think to myself, you are such a good mom. The fact that you allow this and it goes against every fiber in your being just shows that the sacrifices you are willing to make for your kid. So there's that. That's how I get through this.
Well,
like I just applaud myself when I pull into my
as I see this sea turtle with a Santa hat. I mean, it could not be more random. Small inflatables.
Lovely.
It's just, it is what it is.
Okay.
Do you think that there will be a day when our children have grown up and moved out that will bring out the old inflatables again? Or do you think they'll graduate and we'll be like, oh, thank goodness, back to our beautiful aesthetic?
No, I will not put inflatables up once River is an adult. But
what if she's like, Mom, this is what I'm looking forward to. I want to come home back to my childhood house and like relive all the memories.
Once you're like off the payroll, like the inflatables go back in the backyard.
Oh,
like if we're still like
when
financing
she's out of the house.
something, yes.
All right.
The only reason I just want River to look back in 20 years and just remember like what a
you
fabulous
did not want
mother.
to put the inflatables out, but you did it for her.
Right. I want her to remember what a fabulous mother I am. So it's very self-serving.
Also, I will say too, they're not cheap.
Can I be honest with you? I partake in none of it. Like River and Brian,
they're not cheap.
Like research it, decide which ones they want. We did not get a new one this year, mostly just because
there was a hurricane. Yeah.
Right. But usually we add to the repertoire every year. And I have very little to do with it. And nobody asks my opinion because they know what my opinion is.
Well, it's interesting because they are not cheap. And I wanted to be like, okay, does this count as like one of your Christmas presents?
No, it doesn't.
Like, what's happening
It doesn't. And this brings us to our first article of the day. This one is from today.com. If you are a mom, you feel this so hard right now. Moms are challenging the idea that they are the sole keepers of holiday magic. Dads don't feel guilt and shame while moms feel punished for it if they don't show up the way they're supposed to. According to a 2024 survey, moms bear the brunt of the holiday prep 97% of the time. They're the ones that are making the elf on the shelves magic, the Santa magic. They are the ones wrapping the presents. They are the ones buying the presents, shopping for the presents, making the decisions about the presents. They are the ones baking cookies.
Coordinating the Christmas light show, the
Christmas
Polar
events.
Express, all of the Christmas activities, parties, caroling, all the things.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. I really am feeling it this year, and I'm not sure if I don't know if it's because my house is in such disarray after the hurricane, but I have felt normally I love Christmas is my favorite time of year, but I will tell you there's been a couple of times this season that I've been like, this is just a lot. So this article kind of talks about it's funny how moms consistently report to us that they are feeling the pressure, and dad said they don't feel the guilt, they don't feel the shame.
Shocker.
And it talks about how moms do it talks about how dads report that moms do a lot of unnecessary things at Christmas time. So, and that falls into things that fall into that category are Christmas cards, perhaps planning the Polar Express. If you're here in Western North Carolina, the winter lights at the Arboretum, all of those sort of things. But the truth is this article and these experts say the problem is those things really are necessary. Those are the things that give your family the connection. The Christmas cards are what connect you to other people outside your family, your friends. It's, it's like the unnecessary, necessary things. And it's kind of silent work. Nobody's going to praise you for it. It's not like you can really check it off your list so much because it's just sort of ongoing.
Yeah. One of the things it mentions, which I hadn't heard this term before, is kin keeping.
Yeah.
Strengthening family bonds.
Yeah.
So this would fall into, when are we going to go see this grandma? When are we going to travel to see this family member? When are we going to have our tree decorating night as our little family? When are we going to do the things that our family does as our tradition? When are we going to go get the Christmas tree? Those types of things that really are what we think of as those quintessential family bonding moments during the holidays.
They're like the core memories.
Yeah.
The core memories of your family, for your kids. It's sort of the fabric of your family life and what you think of when you think of what you hope your kids reflect back on when they think of their childhood. Those are important.
And guess who plans all of those?
Moms.
And it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
And I wonder, I just wonder, especially this time of year, I'm always like, I just need to quit my job. There's just not enough hours in the day. When am I going to do Christmas shopping? When am I going to I just don't have enough time. And I mean, can moms just get like a sabbatical during the month of December?
No, like the answer is no.
But we need it.
Yeah, I'm tired. As we sit here and record, I'm tired.
I mean, I cried right before
you did.
We started.
You did. But
I'm so overwhelmed.
I feel like it's a sentiment that a lot of people feel this time of year. And because I love Christmas so much and I loved it as a kid and I've loved it for forever. It makes me sad that this is where I find myself here during Christmas time.
And I keep trying to think, just it doesn't matter, Karen, let the laundry go. Let what you can go, as this article says. Like, let go of what you can let go. But there is just so much that you can't let go of. I mean, there's I really am in a place where I'm like, I don't have a second to spare. I don't know how all of this stuff is going to get done. And yes, of course, some things can fall through the cracks, but I have to buy my children presents.
You do.
That has not happened yet. I have to buy our relatives gifts. I have to plan when we're seeing family. Some things just have to happen. And like this article says, it's invisible, but it's a mental load and it has to happen. We're hosting a Christmas gathering at our house. So that means that I have to do at least a little bit to clean my house, right? You just can't let it all go. It's just impossible to let it all go and still create this magic for your children. And you don't want them to see what you're dealing with.
I will say this, and this article suggests that you maybe dial back some of those some of the events and the programs and, some of those things that you willingly sign up for. And I did that this year just because, like I said, we just moved back into our house. And I'm like overwhelmed with like the construction process, the insurance process. all of it. So this year we did not get tickets to the Polar Express. Brian and I, we almost always go to the Biltmore. We did like a Biltmore Light this year, just took River to see Santa. Like we didn't do any of those sort of festivities. I don't know that we're going to make Christmas cookies at our house this year because I don't have any counter space. So we might do it. We're going to go visit Brian's parents and I might sort of try to fit it in there. And I'm trying not to feel bad about it just because I'm like, I'll just get to it next year. I just do not have the bandwidth this year. And our house, more importantly, like some of these things, it's just even like Christmas decorations, we kind of dialed it back a little bit. I mean, we still have the inflatables, but we dialed it back a little bit this year because we don't have the space to do it. And, I'm hopeful that in 2025, I'll look back on this year and I'll be able to appreciate some of the stuff even more so that I'm able to do next year that we just weren't able to do this year.
It's interesting. It says in this article, one idea is to start planning 1 year out and have a sit-down conversation with your partner about, okay, next year, how can we divide these tasks up better?
Yeah.
Which I was like, I can't even imagine doing that a year out, but maybe that's a good idea.
Or maybe even just start in October. What are the things that we really want to do this year? What are the, I'm the person who buys all the Christmas presents for all the nieces, all the nephews on both sides of the family. And I think I would like to think that that's one area where we could maybe divide and conquer that a little bit. But at the same time, it's kind of like if you want something done right, you just do it yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I was talking to somebody the other day who said, I just feel like everything's been crammed into such a short amount of time. And he said, remember, we lost all of October.
Yeah.
And for folks here in the Asheville area, you'll feel this, like literally the entire month of October basically didn't exist because we were living in disaster post-Helene world. So I do feel like we kind of got thrust into like early mid-November. And then it was like, oh, wow, okay, now we got Thanksgiving. And now all of a sudden here we are. Thanksgiving was a little late this year. So I do think it was like not only is it always a challenge, but it feels like it was crunched into a smaller time period.
Yeah.
I have a Christmas-related mums. This is something that I think other moms might enjoy, especially this one is more for younger kids. But I know it is now mid-December, but this is something that you could buy now and either give them this year or save for next year.
Okay.
But we get so much joy out of this every single year. My sister gave this to us many years ago. It's a Disney storybook collection advent calendar. So it's this huge book.
We have one of these.
Yes, it's huge. And it has all the tiny little Disney.
Do you save it year after year?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And it has these tiny little books, Christmas related, but with Disney characters, right? On each of the 24, 25 days, whatever they do. But we pull that out and it is such a big hit every year. I think because there's so many of these tiny Disney stories. They're also, if you have little ones, they're really easy to slip into your purse or dinner, church, anything where you need the kids to be occupied. They're really easy to take with you. And we pulled it out this year and I thought, oh my gosh, this is one of those things that every single year the kids love. The big kids read them all again. Anyway. So you can get it on Amazon, $17, the Disney Storybook Collection Advent Calendar, and it has all of these different little Christmas stories.
And it's a great way to encourage your kids. We've done this for River, although I got to tell you, we didn't do it this year, but I've done it the past 2 years. And it's a great way to encourage reading. If you have little ones who you want to either introduce reading to or get them excited about reading, that's a fun way.
And obviously it's supposed to be designed that you read a book every day of Advent, but we don't. We just get it out and you can read it whenever you want.
Yeah. Love it.
This next article is from Scary Mommy. A new survey finds that parents spend $170 per kid for Christmas. This talks about how, and I feel like on the podcast a couple of years ago, we had this conversation of how many gifts are you supposed to buy your kids? What's the right amount?
Right.
You want them to have a special holiday, but you don't want to spoil them. You don't want to overdo it. What's the magic number here? Well, this is talking about the magic number in terms of how much you should spend for kids. And it's really between $170 and $200 is the average of what parents say they spend. I like this just because it kind of gives you a little bit of a starting point of like, okay, am I going too big or too small, I guess. Of course, it depends on your budget and how many children and all of that sort of thing. Do you go about your Christmas shopping with like a price tag in mind,
No.
or do you just say here's what you want and we'll see what we can
you
work?
Want. Yeah. River had very specific things on her list, and not that many, by the way, which made things a little bit tricky because we have other people who want to get her gifts as well. Grandmas and grandpas and aunts. So no, people are judging me for this, but no, I don't have a specific budget, but I just like try to dole out, okay, Aunt Jen, Aunt Pam, this is what River wants. And then, and honestly, this year it was easier because she had more specific, the older your kid gets, the more specific things they want. But I would say about $200.
Feels
I'm
right.
not going to reveal this right now, but Brian did get River a bigger gift this year that sort of surprised me. I mean, it's from both of us, but he really spearheaded it. So
it's a good one.
That was like one that kind of like surprised me after we bought a lot of things. So I think $200, that sounds about right.
I will never forget when I want to say Ella Ray was 3 and Henry was 2. And they said, we want candy canes for Christmas. And Gregory and I kind of looked at each other and we were like,
okay.
Well, okay, that's about $1.50 at CVS. Done. And it was one of, like, I still remember being like, well, we have to get them something else. But it was like the pressure was off. Because we're like, if we get them some cheap little candy canes, they're going to be like, we got what we wanted. And then anything else is just extra. But you feel like when they're little, especially, you do feel a little bit of that guilt and a little bit of like, okay, well, what? Like, they don't really need anything. They got a lot of toys. They open a couple things and they're like, woo.
I think it's great. 1 year, River asked for a bell because she had been watching the Polar Express and a yo-yo. And Brian and I were like, what is this, like 1950?
Done.
Like, okay, and a slinky. Like, it was the year of like,
all the
where
old-fashioned
are you
gifts.
getting this stuff? Yeah, but it was an easy Christmas,
Ella Ray is very into Harry Potter. And this year she asked for an invisibility cloak.
Oh.
So that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, that's tough. That's what I mean. The older your kids get, the more complicated it gets. And then, Charles, my co-anchor, has a 14-year-old, and she is asking for things, from Sephora, from Lululemon. And I'm like, oh, this is like, just wait. Like, we haven't even reached the pinnacle yet. Do you know what I mean?
Henry's asking for a ping pong table, which is kind of a big.
You can probably get that used, Facebook Marketplace.
The space is the issue with that one. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Ping pong tables take up a lot of space.
Anyway, put it in his bedroom. He doesn't need a bed.
Right. You can sleep on it when you're done playing ping pong. Take the little net down, put your sleeping bag over it. I don't know. I've yet to buy many Christmas presents at this point.
Well, I hope this is giving you some good ideas.
Yeah, we'll see.
The good thing is I feel like your kids can hand me down some of that stuff, right?
For sure. I always do. I will admit this. I have a problem sometimes because I'm like, and Gregory's better at being like, they don't know. And they don't. But I feel like I need to give them approximately the same amount of gifts and spend approximately the same amount.
They don't know.
They don't know. But of course, when you have 4 children, you're like, oh, shoot, did I spend a lot more on one than the others? Are they going to know? Are they,
I would say enjoy it this year, because I think in the future, they will know who spent more or how,
They're still a little bit unclear on price tags.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah. All right. This last article comes from Upworthy. Millennial mom asks her own mom about raising a kid in the 80s and is mortified.
I love this girl.
I love this girl too. I didn't write down
Taylor Wolfe.
Thank you. Okay. Because I've followed her. I found this article, but I realized that I had been following her Instagram account for a long time.
Her Instagram account is hilarious.
She's funny. And it really speaks to, if you're around our age, I would say like in your 30s, early 40s, it really speaks to you because it like all the parenting advice, it makes you think twice because she sort of introduces it in a way that you think to yourself, yeah, wait, some of this is sort of ludicrous. So anyway, she sits down and talks to her mom. She can't comprehend how her mom survived without being able to Google everything. And her mom is like, what do you mean? Like, they talk about baby monitors. Like, what did you do without baby monitors? And her mom is like, what do you mean I was the monitor? Like, I just walked in to see how you were, how you were doing. She also talks about like those existential questions, which if you're a parent nowadays, especially a parent of young kids, people will say this all the time. Like, you only get like 16 summers. Even Brian, my husband, will be like, we have to enjoy this now because we only have this many summers with River. And, I think it's meant to make you, when you're going through a hard parenting time, I think it's meant to make you sort of appreciate and be grateful for your kids and where you are right now, as opposed to wishing for the future. But so when Taylor says this to her mom answers her with like, what do you mean? It's summer right now. And you and I are still sitting around here talking and hanging out, and it just, again, if you sort of fall for some of these, all the places you can get all this parenting advice and what it was like. We talked about this on the pod a couple of weeks ago, and just what it was like when our parents were raising kids. Like, unless you actively went to the library and checked out a book or bought a book, there was nobody to ask except for like your friends or your pediatrician.
And she talks about, the mom says, we didn't worry about this stuff. Like, we didn't worry about any of this. We didn't worry that there was only 18 summers. We didn't worry about whether my child's poop was the right color.
If they're eating McDonald's.
We didn't care. We didn't worry. We just did it and moved on. And I do think that there's a lot of wisdom in that. I think that we do worry too much these days. And I think we get so much information and criticism and feel so much judgment. I wish we could let a lot of that go and go back to the olden days where you just did it. I mean, even I think, I think my mother would say that I don't think they even had the same sorts of like parenting conversations that we do. I don't think they discussed, are you using this parenting method? What's working for you? Have you tried this? I just don't think that they cared. Not cared, that's not the right word. I just don't think that it was as much of a issue as it is now. I feel like moms today are so consumed with, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What could we be doing better? And I just don't think that existed back then.
And it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
For our conversation earlier. Even experts in this article say, like mental health professionals say, parents are way more anxious now than they were a couple of years ago.
I believe it.
So jury's still out, just as we were talking about earlier in the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Will this result in better adjusted adults? We'll see. Maybe. All right.
Do you have a win?
Here's my win.
Oh,
so many of you know a tree destroyed a significant portion of our house in the wake of Hurricane Helene. We are still dealing with all of the house is still destroyed, but our basement was also destroyed. And so we had to completely gut it, cut out the drywall, rip up the floor, move everything. And that was like River's playroom. And our
gym.
And it was like our little home gym. But River, really most of River, like her dollhouse, all of her Barbies, all of her figurines, just like that's where she has some toys in her room, but most of her stuff was down there. So everything had been sitting in the garage now for 10 weeks. And this week, we just really pushed to get the basement finished because we wanted to be able to use our garage. And it was like something that could get finished right now. So we finished the basement this week.
Yay!
We moved back in all of the things. And it's so funny because like it's only been 10 weeks, but all of the toys are like new to River. Like her dollhouse, her Barbies.
And they didn't get ruined.
And they did not get ruined.
That's a miracle in itself.
There's a little bit of damage. So we had like an inch of water down there. And so she doesn't know, and of course she doesn't recognize this. Like some of the dollhouse had a little bit of
like the corners a bit soggy.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, where the water came in, it came down our steps. It was not, thank God, not a lot of her toys were in the area where it was actually wet. So it's been so funny. She's been coming home from school and going straight down into the basement to play, and it's like, so nice to see. I know. And it's also just a good reminder, kids don't need much. And, the dollhouse is a hand-me-down, the bar, it's just, she totally forgot she had half of that. And she's been enjoying so much going down there and playing. There would be times in the past couple of weeks where she'd be like, hold on, let me go down and get, never mind. I forgot that, all of the stuff in the basement isn't there, So it's just been nice to see.
And it's nice to have a piece of your house back.
Yes. The garage. Now we're parking our cars in the garage again. So,
Did you do it the same way you had done it before? You didn't make any changes?
We didn't make any changes to the garage. The garage was okay. We just, everything from our basement.
But the basement is the same.
Oh, no, it's the same. Yeah. We even put the same flooring in. We did get new carpeting on the stairs, which is everybody's very excited about that in our house. It's the little things.
Yeah.
So,
yay. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
I mean, it's a process. I'm sure
one Barbie doll at a time.
One Barbie doll at a time. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, guys, for listening and watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're joining us that way.
Okay.
Have a great one.
Bye, guys. Anchor Moms is a Sinclair podcast produced out of WLOS in Asheville. We're your hosts, Katie Killen and Karen Zakalak. Anchor Moms is edited by Matthew Yates.
For more information on the topics discussed in this episode and to stay up to date on future episodes, follow us on Instagram at AnchorMoms.
You can follow Anchor Moms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Know a parent who could benefit from this week's Anchor Moms episode? Your recommendations help our show to grow, so spread the word.